Hello and welcome back to Pandemic Playground with Dave. We are returning with the series of building a space elevator again, which is the horizontal tram-like elevator system that we built on the Earth-like planet all the way to space. So we're back with the series, so let's get started. Alright, so today's intention was to try to build out the pillar as far as we can, and we wanted to get up to the 0 Gs so we could create some kind of static station so it could hold the pillar from that static station to wherever the last connection was. Otherwise, the whole thing can break easily. So we want to avoid that as much as possible. But we ran into a lot of issues, a lot of crashes, depending on what breaks and everything like that. And also, it takes a very long time for this all to kind of like settle in. As you can see, some things here are broken as well, only because it's rough, very rough when it comes to building this whole entire thing. It takes a lot of time and a lot of mats and everything like that, because we are also doing this in non-creative mode, so it is basically gathering our materials, building it, refining it, building it, and therefore. So we only got up to about 0.16 G's of gravity, so we're almost there. I think if we wanted to get up to 0 G's, how far would that necessarily be? Alright, so that would roughly be around here, which is about 81 kilometers away. Or 80 kilometers. Let's see if we get a little bit closer to kind of tell. But yeah, we got very, very far away from the 13-ohm signals over there. So yeah, there you go. We are basically looking at about, right there, 80 kilometers. Or slightly above 80 kilometers, right? Yeah, slightly above 80 kilometers. So like 80.3-ish. That's how far we need to get to be out of the gravity well. I'm gonna put a GPS pointer here so we can see how far we are from our current state. Alright, so if we were to look at the kilometers away in terms of how to get to 0 G's, we still got 20 kilometers away. Or 20.6 kilometers away, which is insane amount of distance still. Wow. So it is going to take quite some time to get there and start creating a static grid. Maybe I do a half point for the static grid. But more or less at the moment, after coming back to this series, yeah, it's been a long time since I touched this whole rig. I don't even know what's down there. It's been a while. But I was trying to speed it up and doing some manual maneuvering and welding and things like that. Basically using the thrusters to go forward and backwards and all that case just to get this thing working. I was able to weld up pretty quickly actually by going forward with the thrusters. But the biggest problem is that the faster you go, the more damage you make with this whole entire thing. So right now, this thing is running on hydrogen for the most part with the large hydrogen tanks right here. I added a new addition of the upwards thrusters just to kind of elevate it up a little bit when there's too much mats into the large cargo containers, because it can't go fast when it's loaded up with mats. It could go pretty quickly when it's not as loaded up. But of course, the problem again is that we broke the whole entire thing. We broke it several times, tried to repair it, and yeah, it just doesn't work out really well. So the problem here is a lot of the landing gears that we are using to glide through is broken. So all three here is broken. All three here is broken. So now everything's leading forward down a bit. We lost some back here. We lost some pipes back here. So we got a significant distance at least, but the whole thing's kind of broken based on what we've been doing with it and trying to speed up the process. So I think what we're gonna have to do is eventually upgrade this whole welding vehicle a little bit if we want to continue to manually control it to get to at least get to the 0 G's. We can probably get rid of the whole piston right here, because I think that's what's causing the issues. Is this bounciness of the pistons. So we can situate this piece, or this part of the welding ship. I guess you could call it ship that's attached to the pillar, but I kind of want to make this into a ship, to be honest. It looks pretty nice to be a ship. You have the cockpit, you have an O2H2 generator, oxygen tank, and so forth. So that's what we got going for it. But of course, the bottom here, if we are going to turn into a ship, we just get rid of all this. We don't need this whole piece that's clinging onto the pillar. But yeah, it is a lot of work to be done here. And honestly, I was expecting to come back to this series to get as much done as possible. So unfortunately, that's not the case. So it might be somewhat of a slow crawl still to get even further and closer to the moon in this case. So if you have not joined us previously and don't know what's going on, we are building a space elevator, more or less, to go to the moon. So the space elevator itself, almost a success. As long as we get to 0 Gs, we are technically in space with no gravity, so that's the point. As if we're still in the G's gravity well, then we haven't accomplished what we need to do yet. So we definitely need to move this thing forward as fast as possible. Depending on how I want to do this, either I edit this welding rig beforehand and film it, time lapse it, or I just do it all off camera and try to get this done as soon as possible moving forward. We are going to make a space station midway before going down to the moon. So that's kind of the purpose of this time lapse. But more or less making a decent space elevator to get to where we need to get to. And I mean, honestly, so far so good. We're about 60 kilometers away in a way. Well, 59, but almost there. And then of course we got another 20. So it's about 80 kilometers away from our current base. It's all down there. So let's go check out what's down there. I completely forgot what's there. It's been probably a couple of months before we came back to this save file. Alright, so we're back down on our original base. It looks like we have a bunch of turbines running, solar panels. Oop, just ran into that. Solar panels running on custom turret controllers for the solar alignment. Looks good. We have our, I guess, not completely finished control tower that is rotating right over here. I do recall doing that. And then we have our basic storage, hydrogen tanks, refineries for everything we need to get done, and the home. It's been a while since we made this or visited this home, but as you can see, a lot of this kind of resembles Can We Survive the Moon. So you can see my kind of mindset or consistent design of certain things. Like here, you have a control tower, you have a living quarters, you have your storage, refining, or so, and we have all these different vehicles. So I think this is the original drop pod turned into a rover. We have our multi-tool here. We have a large group welding ship, which is all atmospheric, as you see here. We have a hydrogen fueling ship. What is this thing? That's a lot of tanks for a ship, but I guess it is a fueling ship, if anything. And then also there's like a small grid ship here, a drilling ship. Okay. I don't know what I've been doing here. And then with addition of solar panels, we got a whole big old colored solar panel design here. I guess that's just to get power. I remember this is where we got our iron and gold. And this is our actual hover engine elevator. So this thing looks like it's full of hydrogen. It is connected back here, but we can get this moving forward as soon as possible. So yeah, this is the elevator itself, it looks like, from what I can recall. And we have the helm and helm to go forward and backwards in this case. And then moving forward, I recall we have to dig through a little bit of the ground right over here. And we were planning to put up some grids here to color as much as possible for fun. And that way, oop, that's nothing. Yeah, that way when we pass by it, we have a nice little kind of viewpoint of that. So that would be nice. But I know the signal update has come in, so I don't know if it's going to affect anything. It probably shouldn't affect anything, to be honest, but we will see. Let's just say we just hop into our elevator itself. Guess we gotta turn on the hydrogen engine for this to work, or hydrogen thrusters for this to work. So we just speed this thing up ever so slightly. We got a nice little bit of a view here. So that's not too bad. Let's take off all the GPS pointers, travel a little bit slow. Let's just say 50 meters per second. And this is where we want to cover up this whole tunnel system to get some color in there to make it look nice as we're passing by here. But I think it's a nice clear elevator piece, or nice clear tunnel in a way. And then we're going to travel all the way up until we get to the midpoint. Not really a midpoint, but it's like maybe not even a quarter point, but more like 10% of the way. There's a station up here near the ice lake, I think it was. I could be wrong, can't recall exactly. All right, let's just see if we could travel even faster than the basic 50. Let's just see if we can get up to 100 meters per second without any issues. It seems like we're fine for the most part. I mean, I'm afraid to run into those things, but pillars there for the most part. But if I remember, there was some kind of station that we put up there, and we have several other things going on too, which is this the ice lake station, I believe it was, or mining station. Oh, right over there. This is more or less iron, steel plates. Right, so this is the piping that goes into there that's getting their steel plates, and then here is the station I was talking about that we are planning to get a ton of ice from, which we have gotten. All right, so if I can slow this thing down by putting the backwards thrust on, that'd be great. And it looks like we need to change or update something because this does not line up with that yet. I think that was the case, and this is all windows, so not really floating. So we got a bit of a random half station here that's connected into the pipes with the tubes, and it's kind of floating there, and that's just for now. And then it looks like this is the ice lake piping, which is pretty far down, to be honest, to kind of even get there. And that's definitely the iron I remember doing, and it's producing like steel plates, everything like that. Here's for the hydrogen production for the elevator, for everything else. There's all ice here that we're drilling. We drill a small portion of this here. It looks like most of our hydrogen tanks are pretty full anyway, so that's fine. Yeah, we've been drilling this. Oh, we left it on too, so that's the thing. That's a waste a lot of power. But it looks like if we had to, we could drill for more. And it looks like that might be the case because we have some empty space in terms of ice. So basically what we do is just increase some of these pistons forward. So like this one can go forward and get as much ice as possible. As be here. And that's just gonna fill up our hydrogen basically. So our elevator is working. I mean, you probably don't want to call it an elevator because it looks more like a tram system. So we can actually bring this thing and travel all the way to a welding rig if we need to, but I don't think that would be necessary. So at least we know the hover engine is still working perfectly fine, so that's a good thing. So if we want to head back, we can go this way, backwards. Okay, perfect. So it naturally falls down already because it's on a slant. So even if we go 100 100 miles, 100 meters per second, we shouldn't run into any issues with the hover piece. I mean, it's smooth enough in this case, so we can turn off everything. Just kind of like even dampeners off if we need. Oh no, dampeners off doesn't work because that turns off the hover engines, which we need the hover engines to be on. And we also need to power the hover engines, so that's why I think we have the hydrogen engines there. I would hope. But yeah. So we are, yeah, it's pretty smooth actually with the hover engine elevator tram system. I don't know what you want to call it, but that's what it is. Smooth access for the elevator. And hopefully we will be able to bring it all into space eventually. How long does it take to get from the base to space? I don't know yet. We will find that out eventually. I mean, we could travel at 100 meters per second, so that should be fine in most cases. All right, so once I hit to this point, I think this is where we should be slowing down, right? So we don't crash too hard. I think that was the point of that. But if anything, we should probably add some kind of sensor that hits a pole nearby here, so we know that we are really close back to base, so we can turn on the backward thrusters basically. But this gets a little dicey. I think that's really close, as you see here. But it works out fine as long as we go in smoothly or slowly. And we can connect our connector right over there with no issues. We're locked in. So that's the space elevator working fine still with the update, so that's perfect. Right here is like how close that is. So obviously we just got to finish the pillar, go as far as we can. I'm hoping to get to 0 G's, make a static grid base so we can connect it, and then keep going towards the moon, make a space station near there so we can do a vertical drop to the moon. So I hope you guys enjoyed this time lapse, this video, and bringing back the series. So of course, like, subscribe, comment down below, even to just say hi. And of course, I'll see you guys next time. Bye.